What's up, everybody?
Welcome back to Invisible Walls, the podcast all about breakthrough. Brandon, you sound a little different today.
Yeah, finally. I decided to take my steroids. But thank you for joining us. We are on every Monday and Wednesday at 11 a.m. live on Twitch. You can find us on our twitch.tv/blue_champs. Oops, what is going on? What is on right now?
We good?
Yeah, I put the wrong graphics on. There we go.
All good.
Whoa, all right, so I am Brandon Pham, my co-host.
Larry Charles.
And we are bringing you this show every morning, Wednesday and Mondays.
Wednesday. Okay.
At 11 a.m.
Every morning.
Pacific time. Every Monday and Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
And you can find us on our youtube.com/invisible walls.
If you missed live, you can always catch us on YouTube at any time.
Exactly. So we discuss all things, right? We bring on guests sometimes. And we also talk about the biggest topics, scams, anything that really gives us an opportunity to examine characters. And so there's no more characters than the Marvel Universe itself. We are geeks, right? A lot of this dictates our creative output. So my dog is heaving in the background right now. All right, once in a while. So obviously San Diego Comic-Con just happened.
Just wrapped up.
And it's becoming less and less about comics, as in the books.
Bro, comics is becoming less and less about comics
Exactly.
and more and more about making enough to start a movie deal.
Yes, which makes sense, right? We want everyone to get paid. If that's where the business is, as a comic artist, that's what you're aiming for. Because the medium itself, we've had plenty of guests come on to talk about the issues with having to stick to that platform where no one's really going out to these stores to buy comics anymore, right?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to take care of my dog before it starts to heave.
That's all right.
So go over to Larry Cam.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and speak on the whole comic movie-based experience right now. Obviously, in the early 80s, 90s, comics in I would call the modern golden era, comic cards, comic movies, comic lunchboxes, comic everything. Comic books was the way to go to get your fantasy superhero fulfillment. Now, video media is the new way to get your fill on fantasy superhero fulfillment. Comic books, I don't think by far are as supported as they used to be. I think video games have taken up a lot of that marketplace, that market share. There's a lot less 10, 12-year-olds that are excited about getting their allowance, running down to the local Rite Aid, Walgreens, or bookstore to buy, or comic book store to buy the latest issues of whatever stories or artists that they're following. I see a lot less of that these days. There are so many places that people are getting great superhero content, though. Netflix, now the new Disney thing, Hulu, also YouTube, and the movie theaters are kind of replacing it, because I think that people still love those stories. I just think the delivery method of the comic book, unfortunately, is not as well received in 2019, commercially, as it was in the modern golden era for me, like 80s and 90s, where we didn't have Xbox, we didn't have PlayStation, we didn't have, you had a Nintendo, and the comic book graphic was far superior than the best looking render of anything that I ever saw on a Nintendo. Right. So now, though, that's not the case. You want to be amazed by great art and great cinematography. You want to see these great stories actually live in front of you. You want to see them portrayed by people. I think that delivery method is just taken over, and purists still love comic books. I still love comic books. I still love to draw and try to figure out new art styles and stuff from seeing really great art in comic books every now and then.
Yeah.
But I'm not a addictive reader like I was.
Yeah.
Every 2 weeks I had to go get new comic books.
Yeah.
At least.
The time has changed. Our appetite for taking in entertainment. There's so many avenues kind of pulling us in all directions. Streaming, being able to watch anything on the go as you please. It really pulls you away from other things. Like even myself, I'm finding myself spending less time reading, which is bad because I like reading. And it's only because it's just faster to consume other ways. Through audio podcasts, you can learn through that, or even with reading itself, listen to audiobooks. And I feel like the same with comics. Before, it used to be where the computer graphics weren't there yet to kind of help you imagine these things, and comics were the best way to kind of see in its full glory in high production value, right? Now you have books that rivals like better than your imagination or any comic artist can actually draw.
Videos.
Exactly.
It's hard to compete.
It's very hard to, like, unless you're very niche where you want to see, the possible stories out there. Now that you're so finally involved with the comic universe, right? You kind of want to see steps ahead. Like all these onslaught of new movies and shows that are coming are based on comics from the past, right? And very off tangent off of that story.
And let me ask you this, because one thing I can think of is that I have to respect to make sure that I'm like giving comics the best possible shot. 80s, early 90s, we didn't have the huge manga wave, right? That we obviously see now. Like whenever I go to Anime Expo, Comic Con, I see a lot more of the Japanese influence manga fans than I believe that I'm seeing of the traditional comic book
American comic books,
American comic book fans. So for what it's worth, there is that. As somebody who enjoys both anime and manga, I guess which medium do you think you specifically consume more?
To this day, surprisingly, I think we talked about this before. I still am able to read through a manga and still get ahead because it's the shows that I watch are still based on the manga and some filler episodes. Sure, if I want to skip that, I would read the manga. Okay. And so it's weird. I don't know why I'm not getting that type of feeling when I read a American comic. I guess I'm not seeing like a show counterpart. Right, I think that plays a big part of it. So there's not a weekly show that I'm following where if I want to jump ahead, I'll read the comics. There's no real incentive right now. The American comic industry don't have really that type of monetization, right? In Japan, anime is still huge and respectable in all the mediums. And so shows are constantly being greenlight into production. People are constantly, the same way that we're like digging into comics now to make movies, they're doing that with shows, and shows are more frequent, right? And less costly. So we don't have that loop here. So I can pretty much boil it down to that, where there's no reason for me to go through the comics aside from curiosity, right? There's because all my consuming comes from, with manga at least, is because the anime that I watch, and I want to be a little ahead, and so I kind of cheat sheet a bit.
So then your kind of funnel is you're introduced through a show that you knew was based on a manga,
right?
And so once the show has hit the okay guys,
filler
we'll be back
episode,
next season. That's when Brandon goes.
And I read ahead, right? And so that's my loop. I know there's a lot of hardcore people, right, that read a manga that finally becomes a show, but they appreciate it like something like Games of Thrones, right? They actually read the books and now they're waiting for the show to come on. So you don't have that with comics, not really.
Not our comics.
Not our comics.
It's rare that you, and then they don't really follow. What I'm seeing is like usually manga to anime is the video representation of the original manga. Yeah. Whereas when I see what we do in our shows is like, you don't have the same stories beat for beat just done in video form. Right. You kind of have this world was set up in the comic book, but here's our interpretation. Or here's our own unique story.
So it's not even true with the movies.
So I think that's one major difference that I'm seeing with how we're doing it versus how it's being done elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. In Japanese culture, they really stick to the script. Because it's well beloved and
Well, let's start unpacking what's Marvel's plan? Because I remember it was high school around maybe 2001 when like Spider-Man the movie came out, and I went on a date to that movie. It was a good day. It was a good day. That was like right around when I was like, this is what Marvel should do. Yeah. And I bought a lot of Marvel stock because it was like $2.30 at the time.
Oh man.
No, yeah.
Did you keep it?
No, well, see, here's the thing. I didn't have the foresight of how right it was going to be. So when I was like, it's worth $8.
Ah, no.
Yeah. I win.
Fuck.
X-Men the movie's coming out. Hell yeah. Sell this bitch.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
That hurts.
Yeah.
That hurts.
But, it eventually...
Well, did you even, go back to see what if? Like, how much it would...
I did it a couple times. But it's again, it's
how much did it climb?
It's so well. It's I think the saddest I was about it. It had gotten to like $27 somewhere around there, and I was like, man, that. But you don't know. You don't know that as a high schooler spending
Disney
$3 to get cheap Marvel comic book stock. I knew that they were going to do movies, and I knew it was going to make a killing. That's why I bought it. But then obviously, like, I was also like, lock in your gains. I was like, this is a great percentage.
Yeah.
Like, boom.
You're okay with it. Yeah.
I didn't want to wait the like 8 years to be like mega happy.
Right.
I locked in my gains early, so I got like 400%, which is great. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Would have been 40,000%.
It's like the the Bitcoin thing. Like, oh, I had Bitcoin at a penny. I sold it at $2.
Yeah.
I'm so smart.
Yeah.
But you're not patient.
Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of patience, right? Hawkeye's getting his own movie. Let's go from left to right.
Congratulations, Jeremy
Black
Renner.
Widow.
Finally getting like the respect on his name. Put some respect on his name.
Black Widow finally getting her own movie as well. Scarlett Johansson. All right. So the Scarlett Johansson thing, like a few days ago or last week, she was finally responding to the backlash she got for taking on Asian American roles. First being Ghost in the Shell.
What was the second one?
The second one was another movie that she actually pulled from. And I forgot. Let me look it up.
Oh, she pulled.
So she got backlash. She accepted a role, and then there was so much backlash where she like, I'm going to drop out of this project.
Got it.
Let me look up that movie.
It's as a consumer, I'm actually flip floppy on this. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm flip floppy on this because part of me is like, hey, this is good for the culture, and then the other part of me, I'm also the guy who's like, oh man, I'm so tied to this specific fantasy being the way that it was that sometimes I too am like, oh, I don't know if I want to see that. You know what I mean? Like for example, if they decided that like Bruce Banner was going to be, I don't know, like Indian or some shit. And it's like, that's cool. Great for Indian people. But then I'm also like, I'm so used to like the white Bruce Banner, Green Hulk. It's such a shitty thing to say, but like, I know why there's both sides of the argument. And like, I'm not going to use the good people. Like as a fan, seeing the comic go to movie form, I actually am like, big into like they're doing the comic the way that it was first before they then start doing like the extra shit. So like here's the hypocrite in me. I think Sam Jackson has done a great job with the Nick Fury character because the way that he's portrayed it so cool, suave, and somewhat sarcastic. I think is great representation of Nick Fury. But Nick Fury is like the most Tom Selleck looking, you know what I mean? Like super white, like a Bill Nye with a hardcore mustache looking guy and an eye patch was how he was originally presented in the comics. And so I will say I did not much care for that version of Nick Fury whatsoever, but I love the Sam Jackson version. So
and I think everyone loves Sam Jackson.
I can totally see why sometimes those decisions happen. And I will say if they made an Indian dude Hulk and then this dude kicked ass as Hulk and it was great, and I'm like eating crow because I was like, I didn't expect that I would see this. And as a purist, I always wanted to see what the comic presented. But man, this guy did so fucking good. Like I'm happy to be surprised. I'm not gonna die on a hill over making sure that people who could do a good job don't get the opportunity to. Just because I'm butthurt about preservation.
So before we move on, Scarlett Johansson, correction, she pulled out of a movie called Rub and Tug, where she was supposed to play a trans man, right? So the LGBT community gave her backlash, and that's why she pulled out from it. So basically, we're dealing with groups.
That's not fair.
It is very. It's just the climate that we're in, right? The same way that we're there's so many pieces to this argument, right? Sam Jackson, taking on the role, there was backlash, of course. But I think this is where I feel Hollywood, of course, can be racist, but their intention has always the only color they care about is green, right? If green speaks, that will trump, whatever they clearly, right? So with Black Panther,
the amount of colors that they're using,
exactly. There's the Phase 4 is like the most diverse cast and crew I've ever seen. Because during Comic-Con they brought out all the main actors, and then getting the first Asian American superhero Marvel movie, right? That's crazy, man.
Second one, actually, Doctor Strange.
I know.
Moon Knight and Shatterstar.
No,
I
no.
don't think Shatterstar was white, but Moon Knight I think was also Asian. But
Well, I mean,
he died so quick.
Yes. Well, Tilda Swinton was supposed to be Fu Manchu or something, right? That's what they complain about, saying that, we don't want to make this too much like a typical Asian. Well, it was a typical Asian role. Yeah. So if we're talking about like purists, this is where the hypocrisy happens. Yeah. It's like you either are a purist and you're arguing for that, but like I think the argument for Doctor Strange at the time was we want diversity. We don't want to like stick to a stereotype. That's why we're going with the whitest woman.
Well, you know what?
For this role that's traditionally Asian man.
Here's the argument that I do completely respect and understand, and I actually subscribe to it as well. When 98% of the roles already are written for the white audience or for the white actor or for the white portrayal, and then you're looking at that 2% that's left over and you're like, actually, let's turn another one of those into the white actor. Like, I can see clearly why. That's like, come on, man.
Yeah, that's too much.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
You got Ewan McGregor.
Especially when the role in the comics is an Asian.
Yeah, exactly. But that's so like to go from the minority and force the majority role, like that burns. And like
it's a different kind of burn, yeah.
So I feel it less though when it's like, wow, you know what? We turned Nick Fury black.
Yeah.
We took one role away from the 98% and gave it to the 2%.
Yeah.
I feel less bad about that because I look at it as equalization, right? So if my goal is to have everything be fair and balanced.
Yeah.
Cutting from the top helps bring things down.
Yeah.
Also, pushing from the bottom helps bring things up.
Yeah.
So I guess in regards to how I feel about it, if you're going to take a role from the 2% to give to the 98%, you're going to get way more backlash out of me than if you do the opposite. And I hope that people don't hate me for that, but that's just how I feel. Mm-hmm. Balancing things, I think, is great. I want everyone to have all the same opportunities, regardless of race, color, sexual orientation, whatever. You know what I mean? Whatever demographic you fall into, I want you to have the same opportunities. So I will say this, though, because any person can be trans, any person can be hetero, any person can be homosexual, any person can be whatever orientation they feel like. If you're attracted to X, Y, or Z, that's your deal, no problem.
Yeah.
I actually don't have a problem with anybody being like, I'm playing the role of a trans person, or I'm playing the role of a gay person, I'm playing the role of a homosexual person, regardless of their actual orientation. I think that's completely fine, and it's unfair to kind of hate on Scarlett Johansson for
so there is a different
that, in my opinion,
difference between orientation and race.
Oh, so your orientation is like your sexual orientation versus your race.
Yeah,
I literally
as
was
a person
born with brown skin.
Yeah.
And I'm portraying a character who has brown skin. Like, cool, that's great. Oh, actually, Larry, hold on, sorry. Zac Efron's available.
Yeah.
So he's gonna play the role of Hakeem.
Yeah.
Because we know that his Facebook following.
We gotta be careful here.
No,
because for that community is like, I was born this way.
No,
right?
But I guess what I'm saying is I don't see an opportunity that is being removed or off the table from any actor, because anybody can play, any literal person alive can play the role, or at least should have the shot at playing the role of homosexual, straight, gay, whatever.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I think that there is there's not such a discrepancy for who could actually be in that position. Anybody can be in that position. Any person alive can be gay, straight, bisexual, asexual, whatever you want to be. So there's no constraints there. Yeah. Which is why I don't feel bad that someone's saying, hey, well, let's have Scarlett Johansson try for the role, because they're like, hey, we think that she might do a good job.
Yeah.
Her look is what we want, like, for whatever it is.
Well, she definitely has a brand, right?
Yeah. And that's less upsetting to me personally, and I'm sorry again if I'm upsetting a community here with this viewpoint. That's less upsetting to me than like to see like a cultural character opportunity get removed and killed for somebody who is not, or someone who is like in the 98%. Again, it's me saying push the bottom, cut the top.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna push the top and cut the bottom, that's the opposite of trying to get to equality. That's making it harder to reach equality.
Yeah, I think at least with Scarlett, she is not short of any jobs. But it is. But at the same time, it is kind of unfair. Essentially, we're talking to actors and actresses, right? For them not to be able to portray what they're not, right? Isn't that against the whole craft? And there is a whole business side to a lot of this, and to say like, well, here's an unknown trans person actor, like he should be beating her. No, if they put it room to room, who knows? There is always a preference.
Sure.
she comes with an audience. They want their movies to do well.
Yeah,
but this is again, it's very situational, right? If we're talking about old Hollywood, that's what the whole race thing comes into play.
Yeah.
They're like only white actors can bring in the money, which is being proved untrue.
It's being
nowadays.
proved wrong like 10 times out of 10. I will say this: I don't believe Scarlett being groomed for a role where she's playing somebody who is trans.
Yeah.
I don't think that's an opportunity squashed.
Yeah.
For someone who is trans that is an actor.
Yeah.
Because that person, if they were excluded from being able to apply or even try out for the role, like if there's a story to that happened, I hate that. I don't like that part.
Well, we flip the script, right?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of talking to trans people saying that you can't play a straight role, right?
Well, not to me though.
You don't think it's the same thing?
I think a trans person can play a straight role.
No. If we were to say that Scarlett Johansson can't play a trans role, I'm on your side on this one.
Yeah, you're saying so then for them to be upset that Scarlett is being groomed for it, they're upset. We're telling them that, well, okay, cool. So then you can't play a straight role.
Yeah.
So in that case specifically, it's starting to sound like my earlier argument of the cut from the top.
Yeah.
But the difference here is like, this isn't an exclusionary demographic because there's nothing about you as a person that is preventing you from doing a good job of the portrayal. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Whereas if you're a trans person and you're fucking brilliant as an actor or an actress, or I'm just going to use actor.
You should be able to play anything.
I think actor is a coverall.
Yeah.
Go for it. Live your dreams. And I hope that you get just as many castings as Scarlett Jo. And whichever ones you win, I hope you get. Whichever ones you don't get picked for, I don't feel bad if you had an equal chance.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for. And I just feel bad that like in this case, and I hope it doesn't make me come off as insensitive. And please, I'm being open to the internet here. Like doing this.
You can Twitch with us.
I'm bearing my soul.
Live.
I'm telling you how I feel.
This is an open round table.
Yeah, hop in the comments if I need to be educated or if I'm overlooking something or if I'm not being as sensitive as I should. Please educate me. But I'm just being completely open in my thoughts here is that like, it's not that I feel like sexuality is better or worse than race.
Yeah.
It's not that at all. I think that there's more fluidity in sexuality because anybody can have any sexuality. So I feel like it's an open market, right? Like you can have a black person who is gay. You can have a white person who is gay. You can have a Chinese person who is gay. You can have any person.
Yeah.
So to say like, hey, we need a homosexual male to be this. No resume is excluded in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you have hey, we need a black person to do this. I now see a lot of resumes who are excluded. And that's, I guess, where I'm coming from.
People might argue, I'm being devil's advocate right now, that internally, yes, you can't tell, but externally you can. But they feel like it's the same, right? If a trans person comes to you, it's like, well, what if some Scarlett Johansson wanted to play a black woman? Are you okay with that? Yes, visibly, yes.
I'll say this.
But there is no difference.
I think that's a bold move.
Yeah.
I think it has 99.9% chance to blow up, especially given her track record now.
Right. So the outrage, I think they would argue. Yeah, but the outrage would be the same, right? That's what the LGBT community is kind of equating it to. Sure. So this is where the anger comes from.
I'm just saying I don't share that same sentiment because
me neither. But like this is where I feel like the emotion is equating when it comes to the anger towards it's like what the hell, we have actors here that needs it.
I can see this. Yes, the community LGBT saying like, hey, we have actors and actresses, and I'm just going to use actor because I don't want to get into the debate of I'm using the wrong pronoun.
Sure. Actors is fine, yeah.
There's actors in the LGBT community that are probably fantastic that could land XYZ role, and I think that they should have every shot. I also know that it does come down to like let's say they're like, all right, so we've got Keith, actual trans now male.
Yeah.
We have Scarlett Johansson, who we're going to try to make up and do this. Let's put them on paper and look like the authenticity here is going to be unmatched.
Yeah.
This person has like 400 followers.
Yeah.
Nobody really knows them. So we could break this person and introduce them to the world, or we can go with the tried and true. Yeah. Well, let's look at our financials. We don't have much of a marketing budget. Yeah. We don't have this, or we don't have that. Or we do have this, and we do have that. Like having the ability to say, like, let's take the risk and let's go with the smaller unknown because we think that that's actually going to add to our product being unique. Boom, make that decision. Or if they say, like, look, this movie is like $18 million and we've got $20 million.
Yeah.
and we have an opportunity to work with SCOJO, they're probably going to go with SCOJO.
Yeah.
And like as a business person, if it was at least that fair, like I'm not going to hate personally. Yeah. But I don't know what happens behind the scenes. Well, I'm not going to play ignorant.
I think people need to. They do need to empathize with the business side of things, because Hollywood, yes, the decision makers are maybe making racist or insensitive decisions for a long time, right?
100%.
But it's mostly dictated non-inclusive, but it's mostly dictated by their belief that white people will bring in money, right?
It's the acceptance, in my opinion.
Acceptance,
We know that the world has accepted that a white person can lead and star in a movie.
Yes.
In every culture.
And that's how they wage a risk.
Mission Impossible sells in China, sells in America, sells in Canada, sells in South of America. Yeah. Tom Cruise sells in all those places.
And that's the core belief that they keep branching from, right? All the racism and all the casting, all that auditioning happens after the fact. So now we're at a point where I feel like we're going back to the core of like, let's keep making money. What's going on? And if we look at the slates, Black Panther, right, have shown them, holy crap, it rivaled Avengers. And it was just an all-black cast mostly, right? And it did really well, super black. And so it did really well. And the last year and a half, right, the Crazy Rich Asian, there's a whole Asian surgence right now with Asian Americans especially that are doing really well. And of course there's the Chinese market that they're always trying to break in. So it totally makes sense now for them. We're like, hey, fucking Mulan, Shang-Chi, right? Yeah, all these Asian movies, mostly with Asian Americans and some legit Chinese actors in it. It's the time to shine because it made sense financially now, where they have some of these breakthrough indie development have gone and showed them that there's a lot of money and there's a market here for these big studios to take a huge chance and gamble with.
More than anything,
it's not a change of heart because they feel like, let's give these guys an opportunity. It's like they saw the money, they have data to support it. Where
I'll say this, I'm not going to be. I would say it would be unwise to not assume that there was racism and things happening.
Yeah, of course.
Especially when you look at some of the medias that came out during the
Black Panther?
No. I'm just saying, in the grand scheme of if you look at media that came out of Hollywood from its start to today, there are a lot of things that I would say wow, this is racist. It's just so racist. So there's that for sure.
Definitely.
I will say this though, I 100% agree to they're also a business, and they're wow, there's money being left on the table because we were just going with this demographic in this community. And sure, in America, it was globally successful, or it was incredibly successful. In these other markets, it was somewhat successful. But now that we've got an inclusion perspective, now that we have such a diverse cast, we're unlocking so much more potential in all of the demographics across the world. Look at Fast and the Furious, man. You look at that franchise, and you look at the cast of characters that they employ.
Yeah.
I would say it started very white in Fast and the Furious 1, super, super white. Literally the next movie, John Cena is fuck that. He puts in a diverse cast into that film. And from that point on, regardless of how you feel about that movie, look at the characters that were introduced there that stayed. You know what I mean? Then you look at following forward, and you see it's spread out. The franchise goes all over the world. They pay tribute and homage to different cultures or different areas of people and different groups and sectors, demographics, and all their movies keep selling out. And everybody that I know loves them, obviously, or everyone. I'm not going to say that. A lot of people, billions of dollars worth for each movie, loves what that franchise is doing. I think that Hollywood sees that it's not so much that they can only do white. I think that it's now good business to do all, so they're going to do all.
Yeah.
Regardless of how they may feel as head decision makers, I think it's stupid. Even if they were racist, they're well, we better do a goddamn Black Panther, I guess.
Yeah.
Because they got money too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if that was the case, I'm still happy because more people from other cultures who were considered on the bottom are getting pushed up, are getting opportunities. Those stories are getting spread, shared. And again, I said this, I forgot which one of these shows I said this on, but I saw a kid, I forgot where it was, a birthday party or something. White kid had on a Black Panther shirt and no one could tell him any different.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to be told any different. He liked Black Panther. He had the shirt and he was so proud and he was happy. Yeah. Parents bought it, didn't do the hey Billy, okay, you don't want the Captain America shirt? so much happened in that moment of me seeing this kid with that shirt and how happy he was.
Yeah.
That gave me so much hope.
Yeah, yeah.
Regardless of it being driven financially and ignoring racism or not, dude, that like meant something to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Bruce is one of those kids that loves Black Panther. Yeah, he has a Black Panther shirt. And if we look at the last 10 years of Marvel movies coming out, there's been a big shift, right? With Wonder Woman kind of breaking it in for women. Finally, Marvel answered with Captain Marvel. And they're continuing that slate with Black Widow. If we look at the different movies that they announced. WandaVision, I believe, is just a Disney ride. You know,
WandaVision. What the hell is that?
I believe it's some kind of Disney.
So it's on the. It looks like it's on the Disney Netflix service thing.
Yeah.
Like
so the Disney Plus is
logo.
Disney Plus. So Falcon and the Winter Soldier guys will have their own show.
Anthony Mackie.
Yeah. What if?
Shout out.
What if is a Disney show as well? Well, any of those Disney logos that you see, right? WandaVision is going to be a Disney show, and Loki's going to have a Disney show. So the movies that are going to come out are Black Widows, Eternals, Shang-Chi. Eternals is pretty diverse. If you look at the cast.
The Eternals?
Yeah, so they have like Angelina Jolie. She's going to be on there.
Congrats, Angelina Jolie. That's Secret Bay.
Yeah, and then the Game of Thrones guy, Richard Madden.
Which character in Game of Thrones?
The one of the young king that died early at the Red Wedding.
Joffrey?
No, the Red Wedding King.
The young king.
One of the Starks? Rob Stark?
Sure. One of the Starks.
Rob Stark.
Okay, so he wasn't king though.
Well, he was king of the North for a little while before he got killed.
Ned Stark was king of the North.
Ned Stark died. He got his head.
Yeah, but he was.
But his son took over. Remember when he was fighting the Lannister? He declared himself as king of the North. You gotta go back there.
Okay.
These are facts, Larry. Rob Stark is the one who got killed at the Red Wedding with his mom.
Ned Stark got killed originally, right?
Yes,
he was the first of the Starks to go. Rob Stark. I'm trying to recall who the fuck Jon Snow's older brother.
Yeah.
Declared himself king of the North at the Red Wedding, and that's where he died.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. Cool. Thanks for that. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
In case you hadn't.
Well, it's your fault if
Thanks
you got spoiled for you.
Okay. So that guy, the middle Stark.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, the oldest Stark.
No, Ned is of the sons. He's the oldest Stark.
Yes.
I said middle Stark was because I was including Ned and then Rob and then Jon.
Ned is gone, dude. But yeah, I mean these movies, they're making a big bet, but it's a very calculated bet.
Sure.
Right? Asian Americans have had a good year. Sure. Right?
Shout out to all the Asian people who have supported movies and have helped make this change possible. Can't wait to see what new stories I get to see.
I'm having real conversations. Like growing up, it's not any of my Asian friends' dream to become an actor. We know what Hollywood system is like, right? We Asians are very calculated. It's like not gonna work.
Man, we need to unpack this. Please continue. We're gonna. No, I'm
sorry. Okay. So it was never even when I grew up watching Jackie Chan, watching Bruce Lee, a lot of martial art action stars, of course I want to emulate them, but I never thought acting was ever a reality, because I was just like, even as a kid, it's like there's not a lot of Asian actors in America.
You had two roles.
Yeah.
Either you knew martial arts, or you were tokenized.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, well, even these guys who got these movies, the Shang-Chi guy, it's a martial arts film. He's a kung fu master, Marvel superhero. I think his only superpower is that he can duplicate himself.
Bro, how bad would it be? No, he's just a badass martial artist in a regular world. But that's the whole comic. And he's a superhero.
But only the last decade.
No one else knows how to fight.
Yeah, last decade, right? Because it was his whole superpower was like he's able to copy movement and master every style.
Oh wow,
right?
That's pretty dope.
But last 10 years, they finally added no, let's give him a real superpower. He's able to duplicate himself, so he can spawn himself. All right, dope.
Shadow Clone Jitsu.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I'll take that, man. He didn't have anything. So it still is like a requirement. I feel like as an Asian actor, male at least, to know some type of martial arts, because he's gonna be required to be fighting.
So I said I wanted to unpack what you're talking about. I'm going to expose myself, and I did this once before on the Game Dev Unchained podcast, but it's a funny story. So we're gonna drop it here.
Yeah.
Any fans of the Fast and Furious franchise remembers when Brian Shaw was introduced?
Yeah.
No. It was Luke Shaw, the younger brother. Whatever. I forget all these guys' names.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tyrese and what the fuck is his name? Sung Ho Khan, I think it's Sung. They're like chasing this guy, right?
Yeah.
And they corner him.
Yeah.
And the guy they were chasing was Asian. He does his like martial arts pose.
Yeah.
Instantly, I was like, "Oh shit! Here it comes, the martial arts fight. Their karate guy versus our karate guy, right?"
Yeah.
And then Han throws the first punch, and it was the like stupidest, most drunk-looking punch. And that moment meant it clicked my head. Like it instantly was like, "Fuck!" I was like, Hollywood pulled one over on me before I even saw the scene set up. I just knew that it was
gonna be a fight.
This guy knows martial arts. This guy is a master. He's got the long hair. He's about to do his got the pose. Look. They're gonna circle around each other. They're gonna go at it.
Yeah.
That first punch that he threw that let me know he was hopeless meant so much to me. Yeah. Right? That like once it settled in, I laughed for like a good 10 minutes at like how important that shitty punch was. Yeah. And people need to go see the scene. I think it was Fast and Furious. I think or no, Fast and Furious. Oh, what I forget.
Like the third one or second one?
No, it was I think it was 5. I think it was Fast and Furious 5. Holy shit, man. That scene like meant so much as far as Hollywood.
Hey man. Yeah. When I'm on 24 Fitness and we're picking teams, I get the same feeling. Yeah. Right? When I was like, oh, of course. Let's get the black guy on our team. Yeah. And I see him dribbling. I was like, what the fuck?
The Office. Stanley, of course. Of course.
But these are stereotypes that I feel like are mostly true, right? Most of the Asian friends that I do know grew up learning or wanting to learn martial arts. It is very rare that it's not to say like, let's keep supporting the stereotype that an Asian doesn't know anything about martial arts. It's crazy. It is still crazy to me. Like if I meet someone, because we worked at studios where it's predominantly Asian.
With some stone cold killers.
Stone cold killers, right? Where
didn't want to spar
even
with
knowing these facts.
Yeah.
I look at him and I was like, really? You know the fact? Yeah, I'm like a 10th degree black belt. I don't want to hurt you because my techniques are deadly. I was like, they're militarized. I was like, what the fuck?
Man. Shit. You never know.
Yeah. So, it is correct in your assessment, thinking that this guy should know some martial arts. So I agree with you there. Coming from, growing up in the United States, it's just the number one thing that I know all my Asian friends want to do. So it is disheartening when I do meet someone that like you don't know anything. You never got interested. It's like it's very rare for me to find an Asian friend and it's like I thought it was just too violent. I never was into martial arts at all.
Grew up in a nice area.
Yeah, and a lot of that. Yeah, and a lot of that is that. Like a lot of the Asian friends that I do meet just somehow were removed from the Asian community. And there's a lot of that where they grew up differently. And now I think it's probably more common because, a lot of Asians are growing around other non-Asians. Yeah. And so the influence is not as strong. They're not watching like Jackie Chan movies or Jet Li movies or having any reasons why they would be into martial art. They're watching like things on Netflix that don't really have much to do with that.
I will say that like I'm super happy now for your kids to know that like they can turn on medias and see themselves being represented just as people with stories. Yeah. And not be tokenized or not be pigeonholed into being either the old man blind martial arts master or the young hotshot martial arts master. Those were your two roles, right? I'm glad to see Hollywood is accepting the fact that like, hey, let's just tell a story about these two Asian people who fell in love in this very funny, unique, quirky way. Yeah. And then they get back together at the end of the story.
Well, there's a fun fact. There's a fun fact with Shang-Chi, right? When they originally had the Iron Man and the Hulk to start this whole venture, Shang-Chi was one of the original movies that they were going to make because it was like they had $300 or $400 million to start financing this test experiment, and Shang-Chi was part of the original slate of movies that they were going to do. Okay. So back then they were thinking how they were going to cast it. I don't know. Right? It could have been a very different color back then.
Dude, Jackie Chan.
Jackie Chan, yeah. Of course. But like, they're bringing it back. It's a comic book that at least the guys over there loved. Internals, we've been hearing about Internals for a long time. They're finally making that. I mean, the next phase is a lot more cosmic right? Everyone's going towards that slate.
Yeah, their tried and true has been overdone so much that it is time to do the expansion.
Yeah, and the Black Widow, I think a lot of it has to do in response of how well Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel did, because they've been asking for. The Black Widow should have happened in Phase 2 to kind of fit within the storyline, because she should have had her own. She was a well-established actress. Yep. People did like her character, and this movie is supposed to take place right after Captain America: Winter Soldier. Yeah. So that should have been part of that phase to make it fit, right?
She's strong enough to carry her own movie. Like, seriously, they gave her Ghost of the Shell. Like,
yeah.
Marvel already fucked up.
Exactly. So it took them this long to make this happen, and a lot of that is because the time it's already been tested. Everything here is very calculated, right? They've looked at the data, and the data supports Asian Americans supporting it, women, and I mean those are the big two that they're really betting on right now.
I need to see a dope ass Hispanic storyline somewhere in here at some point. This is too far into the future for that audience to have no representation. And I don't want to see it just be one episode of What If.
Yeah.
Like, there.
What is What If? That's the one that I don't understand as much.
Well, I remember there was, and oh man, comic book purists are probably going to shit on me right now, but Marvel had a book that they released that was kind of similar to What If, where they would just tell these like strange, untold versions of stories that could have come from any of their properties, right? Like, what if Tony Stark wasn't rich, or like I forgot, it wasn't called, I don't think it was called What If, but it was like their place to go to just like experiment with Marvel properties,
like multiverse kind of
scenarios. It was one book that was dedicated to like, just, you weren't following like a saga, you were just kind of seeing this character in this type of scenario, and we're separating it here so that you know that we're just playing around, and it's not part of the actual Spider-Man arc. It's not part of the actual. So it seems like they're kind of taking that same model and just doing the video version of that, which is, I'm willing to see what that turns into.
It's very curious, yeah.
A lot of actors are going to get upstarts. A lot of directors are going to get shots here. This is like the farm leagues to grow bigger ideas from. So I'm happy to see that that's going to be cool. But yeah, I need some homies, man. Where's the Spanish love? There's a whole lot of very proud Spanish people who would love to see themselves kicking ass. I would love to see like a major support go that way as well. Bollywood, again, I was bringing that up earlier when talking about Hulk. You cannot ignore how many people are there ready. Like you're talking about money on the table. Yeah. Just be inclusive. Get all the monies. Yeah. A story is a story is a story. People love a hero story. People love growth. People love, we can relate and adapt, or we can relate and feel empathetic towards any kind of story now. Like, we've been seeing diverse media for generations. Yeah. Really done well now, more recently. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you guys, don't leave money on the table. Life of Pi got all those awards. Are you kidding me? No one else took another shot?
Yeah. Well, they're going to.
Outside of Bollywood?
Right. When it comes to Disney kind of greenlighting this, they're the second step in the process. They're gonna have to see a Hispanic-led crew to dominate, to be like, all right, it's our turn.
I hate that.
That's just the way they are, man.
Yeah, that's
because even with the Asians and the women initiative, they didn't start that.
The hard part for me is, like, as I said that, I sat here thinking to myself, well, what property would they pull? Like, where did I see a Hispanic superhero? And the only one that I thought of immediately was Miles Morales, but Miles Morales was like mixed descent, right? Not like explicitly, you know, Spanish, Mexican, South American, or any of the Spanish speaking.
He was more black in the movie, though.
He was.
He didn't reference that much on his Hispanic heritage.
Yeah,
his mom will pop in once in a while, right? But not really.
But you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Like even that was the only example I could think of. So where would they pull the story from? I'm just saying they have to create one.
And that's what their comic business is. Yeah, that's what they're good at. That's the unfortunate collateral damage to us kind of focusing on the movies. It's like the comics used to be an inspiration, and there's been like a lot of comic artists coming out to try to save that part of the business, because it's like, we're the reason why you guys have these stories to pull from. If we stop that, sure, 20 years from now, what are you gonna have to pull from, right? Just scripts.
What they're going to do is probably just make new stories through the movies, but they're going to spend $200 million figuring out a story instead of maybe
these stories
$2 million.
Exactly. Well, that and it takes a long time to process and see how it's received. Them digging back in the archives and these comic stories, it's like adapting a book at this point, right? And so to write a original story from scratch and hoping that it will go through with the Hollywood business model, it's going to be very tough without having that runway.
I guess what I could see is them using What If to kind of replace the idea of how they wanted to develop stories with comic books.
That's probably how they
do it. If it's
like
the Netflix model, 10-ish episodes a season is about 11 months apart.
Yeah.
I could see that being their cheap method.
Right.
All right, here's like $800,000. Go create a pilot. Go create 2 or 3 episodes, and we'll see how it does. Kind of attitude. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch Shang-Chi. I hope it does well. I'm gonna watch all these movies for sure. I love all the Marvel movies.
It's insane how well they established this Marvel universe to be able to do this, and all these are going to be box office hits. Yeah. Even with their Disney, oh my God, the Disney streaming service is going to be so strong. I don't think it's a threat. Like, I think people will buy into Netflix and Disney at least. All the other ones are trash, man.
The part that frustrates me right now is I love that Netflix has all that Disney stuff and the Marvel stuff right now, and it's going to come down to me to where let's just say I watched Eternals in the movie theater, right? Now it's out on Blu-ray, or I have to buy the Disney Netflix. Yeah. The only reason why I personally would buy the Disney Netflix is for the Marvel stuff. But I don't know if
You don't like any of the old Disney stuff?
Bro, I haven't watched
Toy Story 2. You don't have kids, that's why.
I've watched it in the theater, but I haven't watched any of that stuff at home.
Dude, I watch it all the time.
Yeah. Well, I guess
I love watching Tarzan once in a while.
I'm not in the demographic. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where the hell's Blade then? If this is every Marvel phase
Blade
4,
is after.
Why even announce it, man? You know how far away this is?
They get people so excited because Guardians.
November 2021?
Yeah. This is the next phase before the next Avenger movie.
Oh, my God.
The phase following that will include Blade and Guardians at the very least. And they might even start peppering X-Men. They got X-Men now.
Thank the Lord. Oh my God,
dude, that's probably a whole 3 Avengers arc right there. X-Men.
I would love to see what the Marvel teams behind the Marvel Cinematic Universe could do with the X-Men property.
Oh, it's gonna be so much better. Yeah. And they have this Fantastic Four team now. So them going to the multiverse is gonna be able to finally kind of bleed those. Because Blade is huge, man. Vampires exist now, dude, in the Marvel universe.
Blade, bro, I gotta stand on my brown pride podium here. Go for it. If it wasn't for Blade, we wouldn't have any of this shit.
That's true. Was Blade really the original for Marvel?
No, so they had Marvel movies before Blade, and I think that
the first successful Marvel.
Blade was like the first, I think, back-to-back franchise where they're like, oh snap, we got to do this.
So this was before Spider-Man, right?
I think
before Tobey Maguire.
I think Spider-Man 1 came out after Blade 1. Okay. I can't confirm, and someone can correct me, but I think Blade 1 was like Marvel was like, we'll show you money here. Spider-Man probably cost way more money than Blade, but I think Blade was the
I like Blade 1 and 2. Yeah.
Wesley Snipes.
I love that. Yeah, he did a really good job.
He did a great job as Blade. He didn't have to speak very much. Yeah. He just had to show off his martial arts skill and keep his body in great shape.
Yeah, that's what I'm fearing because the new guy.
Mahershala Ali?
Yeah, he's not a martial artist.
I don't know. I don't think he is.
No, he's not.
I don't think he is.
I can tell he's not. Maybe boxing.
They're gonna.
But he doesn't have the kicks down.
Here's what's gonna happen, right? Yeah, he signed the role, so he's already got a private instruction.
Fine.
He's already got an instructor. He's doing this shit right now as we speak.
Sure.
He's gonna.
Stuntman, sure. Anybody can be a martial artist.
He's gonna know enough.
There's gonna be a difference, though. There's gonna be a difference. Yeah. Like Wesley Snipes was legit martial artist.
Wesley Snipes, I think it was a capoeira black belt and then another black belt.
His kicks he's well trained, dude.
He's still in fighting shape.
Yeah.
He better be like in that movie somehow, some way.
He can't.
If they don't put him in there, bro.
He's in the difficult to work with category with Ed Norton.
Oh, that's right.
Ed Norton had the same type of push.
You did tell me about the the attitude that he had on set.
On the third movie, yeah.
If you show your ass in Hollywood, they do a great job of not putting you on camera anymore.
And they don't seriously. They don't need him for the movie to succeed.
Yeah. It's a machine now. It's all set up. Yeah. Anything that they greenlight can be and will be worth the money they spent to make.
But it's exciting, right? Once they announced that they have vampires, they have the term mutants back. Mm-hmm. Fucking Wolverine, bro.
Done well.
Oh my God.
I will say this:
with
the
Spider-Man.
Hugh Jackman portrayal of Wolverine.
They're printing so much money.
The Hugh Jackman portrayal of Wolverine. I think that like he was the right guy at the right time with the right portrayal. Like he carried every X-Men movie that they had.
He did a good job.
He did a great job.
But he's not a true Wolverine.
He was as close as I think you were gonna get. You know what I mean? But his costume designs, when they were doing the costumes, all shit. Every Fox X-Men costume design was shit in my opinion.
Hugh Jackman as Wolverine was really good. No worries. The only X-Men movies that I liked was the First Class one and then the Logan one.
I love Logan.
I hated all the other X-Men movies.
I love Logan. I think
all the other X-Men movies was shit.
They were just basic written summer blockbuster style movies.
Yeah, right? leather clothing for their. It was already. If they kept like the Marvel guys are gonna keep their original costume, which I think are badass, right? It's been vetted, right? Stop changing it. And the only problem with the old Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, was he was too tall. Like Wolverine's known supposed to have a small man complex. He's like 5'4", 5'5", fucking bulk, power lifter, right? So like people are already talking about how the who's the guy who does the Kingsman, Taron Egerton. You know that kid?
The main kid from the Kingsman. I don't know either.
Well, they're saying that his son, like. Someone made a hypothesis that got the original Marvel movie slate correctly. Said that he's going to be the next Wolverine. Okay. Bet me on. But like what I'm saying is like this model is so successful. I wish Kevin Feige would take over the Star Wars universe. And I'm sure he's been pitched that. He's like, hey, can you come over? Like Bob Iger's like, can you take a look at house. What's going on at Star Wars? We aren't able to duplicate your success. Like for someone to be able to do 20 plus movies, fucking ace and hole, that's like all skills, son. Right? Like I want to see like him take on a phase of Star Wars because I feel Star Wars is really like. At first I was excited, but like the last few movies, it's just been terrible.
It's hard to. I don't know what our time is like, but I think it's hard for them to just kind of like go into the Star Wars universe and then just make this story loosely based on people that we care about, but not actually do justice the things that we care about Star Wars.
Yeah.
I would love to see a great 3-arc Star Wars villain get introduced, pursued, and then dealt with.
Yeah.
They're trying to do that with Kylo Ren, but it now looks like he was introduced, pursued, and now going to be. The resolution is not what I had hoped for. Like, I actually want the classic, like, kill Darth Vader guy again. Like, I would love to see that again.
Yeah, they killed off Snoke, which was a surprise. But this is the problem when you're trying to balance, like, 3 different directors. You're not going to have a cohesive story if you're just leaving every director. It's kind of like, all right, here's the, what do you call it, the relay race, right, with the baton. You carry it to the next movie. It's not going to be as satisfying, as thoughtful, as poetic as a three movie arc handled by the same director, right? So we're seeing that. We're seeing the problems. It's like, what the fuck? You build up Rey to be this badass out of nowhere, and then her heritage is not as important. Oh wait, J.J. Abrams is gonna fix that because of the backlash, and we're gonna see his response and like, oh, she is actually important. Then why did you made up? This is just where it's Game of Thrones again, man. It's like fucking Game of Thrones. The reason why people got upset with Game of Thrones is because all these threads were woven and none of the payoff was satisfactory.
I would love if Star Wars gave us an interesting scenario that we aren't willing to accept but have to. So like if they went Game of Thrones and did a Daenerys for Rey, I think that would be good cinema. And here's why. We've been built up to love and support this character, and like we want to see her win. Imagine if she had a Mad Queen turn. Yeah. You know, that would be very interesting to have to sit through.
Yeah. And Ben Solo is the one that saves it.
Maybe, I don't know. I wouldn't even save her. I'd be like, let's just throw her to the wolves and like see how, I don't know.
Not save her, but save the galaxy.
Okay, got it.
Like the guy that you've been see, that would be interesting.
Yeah. It'd be like a switch. Anyway, I'm not here to save Star Wars. They don't pay me any money. So. Good luck, all the directors involved in all these projects. Again, overall, I'm so happy that there's more representation happening in the film industry, regardless of the motive, be it financial or be it because they generally do want to see more and know that it is good for the world to have more inclusion.
Yeah,
I'm happy with the result either way. I want more people to have more opportunities, regardless of where you come from, who you are, or who you're in love with. If you can get in the camera and act your ass off, I want you to have your shot, like hands down. Don't care who it is, how it is.
Yep.
Do your best, and I want you to have a shot.
Yes, have a shot. And if building an audience is a problem, we have avenues now, right? Build an audience. Like have something. If you come across the table and you have more followers than Scarlett, yes, Corjo, right? They're not going to say no to that. Are you kidding me?
Take away their excuses.
Take away the
excuses for somebody to give you any other reason than whatever their bias is as to why they said no. Because that makes it so much easier to deal with people.
Yeah. You just got to work against the stereotype. Yeah. So thank you, everyone, for joining us on twitch.tv/blue_champs. We are on every Monday and Wednesday for Invisible Walls at 11 a.m. Pacific time. If you're watching this after the fact, you're probably watching on youtube.com/invisible walls for any of our previous episodes. And thank you for supporting us on Patreon under Blue Champs, as well as Twitch Prime subscription. We are eternally grateful. And if you want to contribute directly any other way, you can click the donate button on our Twitch channel, and that will be appreciated. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for sitting through us opening up an invisible wall, talking about breakthroughs for people in acting, film, movie production, and just representation worldwide across the globe. See ya.